Good morning, everyone. On Sunday mornings, I have been talking on this text, Opening the Hand of Thought. This is written by my teacher, Okumura Rōshi. And I have been talking kind of very slowly, paragraph by paragraph. Today, I'd like to talk on two paragraphs from the last paragraph of page 94 and the first paragraph of page 95. He says, in contrast to isolationism or escapism, practitioners with a broader attitude developed a living samadhi. Samadhi refers to self-settling on true and immovable self. But immovable should not be interpreted to mean functionless or fixed in an inactive state. Since this universal self is life, and life is activity. Life completely unhindered by anything manifest as pure activity. This is immovable, unshakable life. Within the manifestation of pure life, practitioners found where the whole self can settle, and this led to the development of Mahayana Buddhism. In brief, self-settling on itself does not mean to be dragged around by desirous thought, nor, on the other hand, does it mean to become lifeless, with vitality wasting away. Life must function as activity that manifests life as life. And through this kind of activity, an immeasurable and alive world will open before us. In this section from page 89, Okumura Rōshi is talking about the meaning of Zazen practice in terms of the modern civilization. And first he said, in the modern civilization, we have a problem that is, we always trying to get better and gain or achieve something desirable. So we are working so hard and always busy. And also this modern civilization is very competitive. So our life is become restless. That is, and he called this modern civilization as crazy civilization. Always focus on something, to certain things we want to achieve. And Okumura says, in Buddhism or Buddha's teaching is to settle down within the self. That means not chasing after things outside. We be with ourselves without chasing after things based on our desire. So we are being harmony within where we are, what is happening within and outside ourselves. he introduced about the teaching of the self by Shakyamuni. And yet he said this kind of idea of being settling down within the self and not be pulled by our desire can create a foolish civilization. Foolish. I'm sorry. Okumura Rōshi uses these two as a kind of a pair. One is always trying to get something and don't see anything else, and we forget the peacefulness. We are always running after something. But foolish, when he said foolish civilization means, this is okay as it is. Don't mind. Life, everything is as it is. That's okay. That means we become lazy. And in terms of Okumura Rōshi's kind of seeking the true way of life, he's trying to find a middle way between crazy civilization and foolish civilization. How can we, and crazy civilization means the basic point is progress. How to make change, how to make things better. And foolish, not foolish, but this side is peace of mind. How can we integrate these two? We make progress, but not without losing peace of mind. Is such a way of life possible or not? Or from another side, we keep peace of mind, and yet not forget progress, making progress. Is such a way of life or such a civilization or such a society possible or not? And after he introduced Buddha's Shakyamuni's teaching about the self, settling the self, he said there is a possibility that if we make misunderstanding, then from this Buddha's teaching, we may create foolish civilization. That means everything as it is okay. Don't chase after something better. And then he, in the last two paragraphs, he says that side of understanding of Buddha's teaching as escapism. But here he said there is another side in Buddhist teaching, or another interpretation of Buddha's teaching of self, settling the self. That is not escapism. And actually, what he's talking about the Mahayana image, Mahayana Buddhist image of Hinayana. And he compared between Hinayana attitude and Mahayana attitude. But this is a kind of a common understanding of Buddhism, entirety of Buddhism. When Okumura Rōshi wrote this writing, that is about 40 years ago. And within Japanese tradition, even within Japanese Buddhism, there are different schools. And basically, even when I was a university student to study Buddhism, basically what I was taught is there is within the history of Buddhism, there are development, and it's getting better. That means Mahayana Buddhism is better than Buddhism before that. And even within Mahayana Buddhism, Komaza University was a Sotozen University. So there, those scholars' job was to prove that Dōgen's teaching is the highest, even among the Mahayana Buddhism. So it's kind of a sectarian idea. It's not really a critical study based on the reason and logic. So I don't think we need to believe what Okumura Rōshi is saying here in terms of the history and also the schools within Mahayana. Okumura Rōshi was not a scholar, and I am not a scholar. So basically what he's doing here is comparing his practice of Zazen and and one of the kind of typical understanding of what meditation practice, traditional meditation practice in India, and what is the difference. Because he's talking about that teaching about samadhi, I talk about some meditation practice or understanding or attitude of meditation practice. And as for the meditation practice, Dōgen's teaching about this practice we call Zazen. Za is sitting, and Zen is meditation. So Zazen is sitting meditation. But but Dōgen often called his practice as sitting or taza. And he called his Zazen as shikan. Taza. And shikan means just or simply. And taza is saying that, and ta make this word stronger. So shikan taza means just sitting. So he called his sitting meditation practice as Zazen, or just sitting. And this is a kind of very unique approach. In all of the Buddhist traditions have some sort of meditation practice, and their approaches are very different. And Dōgen's approach, that is called Sotozen today, is very kind of unique, even among the Buddhist traditions. I'd like to introduce what is a very basic understanding of Buddhist meditation in India. This is a collection of writings by many scholars, and one of the section is thesis entitled Indian Buddhist Meditation, and this was written by Paul Griffith. And here, this person, this scholar, make a kind of a definition of what is meditation, what is samadhi, what is dhyana. And according to him, definition of meditation is as follows. I use the term meditation very generally to refer to any self-consciously undertaken consciousness-altering technique. Consciousness-altering technique that does not make use of chemical substances external to the practitioner in order to produce the desired alteration. Alteration, I think, is making transformation or change. So according to him, meditation is a technique to change the consciousness, the condition of consciousness, altering the consciousness. So meditation is very kind of has a wide range. Any technique which allow us to alter our consciousness can be called meditation. And next he talks about samadhi. Samadhi is in Japanese Zanmai. And Dōgen called his Zazen as Jijuyu Zanmai. But according to this person, samadhi is concentration. He says, among the more important technical terms used by Buddhists are the following. First, samadhi. I shall fairly consistently represent this by concentration. This seems appropriate since the standard gloss given to samadhi in Indian Buddhist text is one-pointedness of mind, one-pointedness of mind. This word expression, one-pointedness of mind, in Chinese or Japanese we call it shin. What is the word? Shin ikkyo-shō. Shin is mind, and ichi is one, and kyo is object, and shō makes this as a noun. So generally, the definition of samadhi is concentrate our mind into one object. So concentration is a good English translation. And one-pointedness of mind, and this idea of directing attention to a single object is also central to the English concentration. So samadhi is basically direct our mind or attention to one thing and concentrate this object without seeing anything else. That is samadhi. And second, bearing a close connection to samadhi is the term dhyana. Dhyana is actually original word for Zen. Zen is a transliteration, Chinese transliteration of Sanskrit word dhyana. And about dhyana, this person says, I shall leave this untranslated. So he doesn't want to translate this into English. It refers in its more technical usage to a precise set of altered state of consciousness, usually 4 in number. So according to him, this dhyana or Zen is a set of altered states. So this is a kind of a result of concentration. Through concentration practice, somehow our consciousness is altered, changed, transformed. And that condition of transformation as a result of this meditation practice is called dhyana. And there are usually considered there are 4 stages. The nature of these altered states will be discussed below. At this point, it must suffice to say that they are means these 4 altered states. They are enstatic. Enstatic? Is this English? Enstatic. I think static means without move. And en means become moveless. I think. That's correct?
I think it means like standing inside or standing in.
Standing in and static, okay. They are enstatic, aimed initially at withdrawing the practitioner's senses and thoughts from interaction with the external world. So this means these 4 stages of dhyana as a result of concentration or meditation practice is to enstatic, make our mind, our consciousness or psychology become quiet and not moving and not being influenced by the things outside. And finally, at bringing all mental activity to a halt. Halt means all mental activity stop. So basically, this meditation practice, Indian meditation practice, according to this person, is to stop thinking, to stop the activity of our mind, especially our mental activity in terms of subject and object. We think we receive some kind of stimulation from outside, from object, and things happening in our mind. So the purpose of meditation practice is to stop these things happening in our mind. That means we are not influenced, affected by the things outside. So this is to cut off the stimulation from outside, and then our mind become tranquil, peaceful. That is very basic understanding of meditation practice in India. And actually this is kind of a half of the meditation practice, so-called shamatha. Shamatha means stopping. And another half is once our mind become peaceful, tranquil, not influenced by other object within outside, we start to not we, but the practitioner, start to contemplate about the important point of Buddha's teaching, such as Four Noble Truths or 12 Links of Causation. So with the mind which is not moved by the object, the practitioner think of or contemplate. I don't know the difference between think and contemplation. Think of those important teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha. That is basically understanding about the meditation practice in India. But Dōgen's just sitting is very different, or Shikantada is very different. Even though he called this Zazen or sitting meditation, and he called his Zazen, this practice, as a Jeju Zanmai kind of samadhi. Basically, we don't stop thinking. We say, or let go of thought. Letting go does not mean stop. And the title of this book, Opening the Hand of Thought, means when we are thinking, we grasp that thing with our hand of thinking. And opening the hand of thought means we letting go. That means even when we sit facing the wall, all different kind of thought coming and going. When we sit in the zendo facing the wall, there's no object for six sense organs beside the wall. And sometimes we hear the noise, but fortunately, wall has no good and bad, and we usually don't make evaluation about the wall. So there's no object, and usually in the zendo it's quiet. So there's not much noise or sound comes in, and we don't eat during Zazen, so there's no stimulation from the food or taste or smells. But in our Zazen, our brain continue to work, and the function of our brain is produce thoughts. So all different kind of thought coming and going in our Zazen, even when we sit and letting go. And actually, we can letting go of thought because thoughts are there. If there's no thought, we cannot let go. So our practice is not a kind of attempt to eliminate or stop thinking. But when we start to think about this thing happening, coming in our mind, then there's a separation within our mind. That is, this person as subject is interact with this thought within our mind. So there's a separation between subject and object. So within our mind, this separation between subject and object occurred, and I think of this thing, whether I like this or I hate this, or I want to eliminate them. So we start to do something with this thing. And that is what thought or thinking means. So whenever we found our mind is separated into two parts, subject and object, and there is interacting, we stop it and just return to this sitting. Sitting means, upright posture and breathing through our nose, deeply from our abdomen, and keep our eyes open and letting go of thought. Those 4 points are the points to return. So whenever we found we are thinking, that means there's a separation and connection within our mind. We just return to just sitting and restore oneness. We just be one. There's no such separation. That is what we actually do in our Zazen. That is what letting go of thought or opening the hand of thought means. And so within this Zazen practice, we don't fight against our thought, and we don't try to stop our thinking. Of course, we don't grasp, try to do something. Even when we try to stop the thinking, there's a separation between this person sitting and the thought coming and going. And we don't like those thoughts coming and going, so I try to eliminate them. That is already, there is already separation, so we don't do that. We just take care of this posture, upright posture, and deep and smooth breathing, and keep our eyes open. That means we don't sleep. That's all we do. So this Zazen sitting practice is kind of different from the definition of meditation practice in Indian Buddhist text. Last Wednesday, we had a Dharma study group, and now we are studying Fukan Zazengi. Fukan Zazengi is Dōgen's manual on Zazen practice. And I introduce Wanshi Shōhaku or Honji. This is a famous Chinese Soto Zen master. Composed a verse about Zazen, and the title of the verse is Zazen Shin, and Shin means a needle, and in this case, acupuncture needle. Acupuncture needle is something to heal when our body has some problems. And Zazen Shin means can mean two different things. One is Zazen is itself acupuncture needle. When we have a problem, difficulties, or sickness within our life. But in the history of Zen, there are kind of discussions, of course, and these people in the so-called Soto Zen traditions think there are some sickness caused by Zazen, based on mistaken view of what Zazen is. So anyway, what this person is writing in this verse is very similar, not similar, but almost the same, about Dōgen's understanding of Zazen. Dōgen very much respected this Zen master Wanshi. So I'd like to introduce his verse about Zazen. It says, the essential function. Let me read this verse first, and I talk sentence by sentence. the essential function of the Buddhas, and the functioning essence of the ancestors. Knowing without touching things, illuminating without facing objects, knowing without touching things, the wisdom is by nature inconspicuous. Illuminating without facing objects, the illumination is by nature subtle. The wisdom, which is by nature inconspicuous, never has discriminative thoughts. The illumination, which is by nature subtle, never has the slightest separation. The wisdom, which never has discriminative thoughts, has no dichotomy, but sees oneness. The illumination, which never has the slightest separation, has no attachment, but is evident. The water is clear to the bottom. A fish is swimming slowly. The sky is infinitely vast. A bird is flying far away. This is his verse about Zazen practice. And he called this Zazen, or sitting meditation, or just sitting, as essential function. Essential function is a translation of yogi. Yo is most important point. Actually, this Chinese character yo refer to our low back. Means because of low back we can bend our upper part of our body. So this is most important point to support our body and keep our body functional. Anyway, and the key is function. So I translate this as essential function. And about the ancestors, he said, this Zazen is a functioning essence. He simply changed the order of the word. Kiyo, functioning essence. So this Zazen is essential function and also functioning essence of Buddhas and ancestors. And knowing without touching things. This things is Ji. And knowing is Chi. And illuminating without facing object. Object is En. And illuminating is Shō. So he said, knowing without touching things. Here, there's he's talking about subject-object relation. He knows, or we should not say he knows, but there's a knowing. But within this knowing, there's no touching between subject and object. Without touching object, there's knowing. And this show or illumination is same as knowing. When we know something, we pay attention to this thing, like illuminate with a flashlight. So Qi and Shō is the same thing. And this Shō is also used in the Anya Shingyo or the Heart Sutra as Shōken, clearly seeing the five skandhas are empty. That Shōken is this illumination. So, and this N is object. So he's talking about subject and object, and yet he doesn't say we cut off this relation. He says there is knowing and there is illumination. That means in his expression, within our Zazen, we don't try to stop thinking, try to make our mind, how can I say, being in halt, means stop functioning. So our mind is functioning, our mind is working lively. And yet there's no such separation between subject and object. Our Zazen is beyond this separation, this dichotomy, and yet our mind is working. Even though our mind is working, there's no such separation between person sitting and object. That is basically what he's saying in these two sentences. Knowing without touching things, and illuminating without facing object. And continued, knowing without touching things. This wisdom, this knowing, is by nature inconspicuous. And illuminating without facing object, this illumination is by nature subtle. Conspicuous and subtle is almost the same thing. That means there's no such discrimination or distinction. And we make distinction, the difference becomes very clear. But within this knowing and illumination, there's no such discrimination. So they are inconspicuous and subtle. The wisdom which is beyond nature, by nature inconspicuous, never has discriminative thought. So even though our mind is functioning, still there's no discriminative thought. And the illumination which is by nature subtle never has the slightest separation. Slightest separation is same as discriminative thinking. Discrimination makes things clear. And yet there's no such, there is knowing and illumination, but there's no such separation or discrimination. The wisdom which never has discriminative thought has no dichotomy but sees oneness. There's no dichotomy between subject and object, and also no dichotomy between among the object. Usually subject evaluate in front of us and make evaluation. This is good, this is bad. I like this, I hate that. But there's no such dichotomies among the object and between subject and object. Those are simply one. So this knowing sees oneness. And the illumination, which never has the slightest separation, has no attachment, but is evident, no attachment. So there's no clinging or attachment to the self or to the object, or among the object something we want and something we don't want. There's attachment and or greed and hatred is caused by this. But within this sitting, even though our mind is functioning, but there's no discrimination and no attachment or clinging. So finally, when she says, the water is clear to the bottom. The water is the ocean. A fish is swimming slowly. So fish is swimming is in the water. That means this fish is person sitting. This water is this entire world we are living. So there's no separation between fish and the water. And the sky is infinitely vast. A bird is flying far away. So fish and water and bird and a sky is the same thing. And person sitting and the world in which we are sitting, or each one of us and the world in which we are living are one thing. So within this Zazen, there's no such things called withdrawing or escaping, but this person sitting on this entire world is one. There's no such separation between person sitting and things around us. So there's no way to escape from anything. If you are familiar with Dōgen, what he's saying in Genjo Koan about fish and water and birds and sky came from this understanding of Zazen by Wanshi. And in Genjo Koan, Dōgen says about fish and water in this way. When a fish swims, no matter how far it swims, it doesn't reach the end of the water. When a bird flies, no matter how high it flies, it cannot reach the end of the sky. So he's talking about fish and water, or a bird and sky, and the person sitting and this entire world. We cannot get out of the world. That means there's no way we can escape from the world, because we are always inside in there. Therefore, no fish and no bird have never left the water and the sky since ancient times. So there's no way we can withdraw or escape from the outside external world. So our Zazen is not escaping from the external world. When the birds' need or the fish's need is great, the range is large. That means big fish swim in the large range, or big bird fly in the big range, and small fish or bird, small fish swim or fly in a small range. So when the need is small, their range is small. In this way, each fish and each bird uses the whole of space and vigorously act in every place. So this within our Zazen. So he's talking about our Zazen. Within our Zazen, we are uses the whole of space and vigorously act in every place. That means we are sitting within this entire world without any separation. However, if a bird departs from the sky or a fish leaves the water, it immediately dies. So there's no life if we try to outside of the water or the sky or the world. We should know that for a fish, water is life. For a bird, sky is life. A bird is life, a fish is life. So there are three things: a fish or bird, and water or sky, and life. And this life actually includes both. Each one of individual things. And this world means this network of myriad dharmas. So this network of interdependent origination, and each and every one of them within this network are both life. So a bird is life, a fish is life. Life is a bird, life is a fish. And we should go beyond this. There is practice enlightenment. This is the way of living beings. And he continued in the next paragraph. But I think for now, this is enough. So I think the difference between the kind of traditional understanding or definition of meditation practice as concentration and try to stop our mind functioning. And in that condition, we practice kind of vipassana or contemplation about what Buddha taught. To me, this is a kind of, maybe this is not the right good word, but this is like a brainwashing. We stop, our ego-centered thinking, and first we stop the function of our mind and kind of replace the ego-centered deluded thought with the Buddha's teaching. That is truth. But in this, in Dōgen's Zazen practice, there's no such a kind of a controlling our mind, but we just let go of what, anyway, our thought is a production of our brain. Whatever thought coming and going is a production of our brain or our mind. And when we just let go, that means we don't grasp. Then we are from the very beginning, we are within this network, or birds and fish are already within the sky or the water. And we never separate ourselves from the water or the sky. And, even when we are sitting in the zendo, we are swimming or flying. So our practice of sitting is not, how can I say, without function, without movement, without working. It's already 11:10, and I don't have time to talk about Okumura Rōshi's writing here, so I continue next week. Anyway, any question or comments? Please.
You spoke of samadhi from the Indian perspective. and this is a concentration on an object. And then about Dōgen's viewpoint, which means that's a dualistic, he's saying, and so one should go more into non-dualism and just let the mind think itself, so to speak, maybe. But what about Japa Yoga, or is it Jodo Shinshu and Nimbutsu? Is that also object-oriented, or is it something else in between? How do you situate that?
You mean Pure Land Buddhism?
Yes.
Pure Land Buddhism, they called Amitabha Buddha as and the power of his vow to save all beings, or to accept all beings in his Pure Land, when they have faith in his power. And they call this power of Amitabha, power of salvation of Amitabha, as other power. And our self-power practice doesn't work. So only thing we can do is have a faith in Amitabha's power of salvation. That is called other power. So it seems there's a separation between this person and Amitabha, so-called other power. But that is very kind of a basic teaching in Pure Land Buddhism. But for example, in Japanese Pure Land Buddhism, kind of founded by the master named Shinran, and his school is called Jodo Shinshu. Shin means true, and Jodo is Pure Land. So Jodo Shinshu means true Pure Land school. And in Shinran's teaching, he called this other power, or tariki, as zettai. Tariki. Tariki is other power. And Z is, what is this? Is like a extinction or go beyond. And this Tai is dichotomy. So Zettai is used as a translation of English word as absolute. So this absolute means there's no relativity as a self and other. That means this Amitabha's other power is not dichotomy with self-power. That means in Shinran's teaching, even our faith to Amitabha is a gift from the Amitabha. So there's no such dichotomy between self-power and other power. That is a kind of a common sense understanding in general in Pure Land Buddhism. But in the case of Shinran, there's no such separation between self-power and other power. And he called this no separation as other power, Amitabha's power. That means within Amitabha's other power, all of us are included. Does that make sense? And so in his teaching, to chant Namo Amida Butsu, that means I take refuge in Amitabha Buddha, is not, this is, I think, Sakiro's expression in Shinran's teaching. Chanting Namo Amida Butsu, I take refuge in Amitabha Buddha, is not like making a reservation to be born in the Pure Land in the future after our death. But for him to have this faith in the other power means we have a faith that we are already in the Pure Land. We are already included within Amitabha's power. So for Shinran, this chanting Namo Amidabutsu is not a prayer, is not asking, requesting Amitabha to allow me to be born in the Pure Land. But this chanting is expression of gratitude. So in that sense, what Dōgen taught about Zazen and what Shinran taught about Nembutsu is the same. That means Dōgen said, when we practice Zazen, we practice going beyond self and others. So it doesn't mean there is a truth or reality, and our practice is a kind of a method to get that thing, that desirable thing. I think usually we think our practice is a method to become enlightened, to achieve something, and we become better. But in the case of Dōgen, there's no such better thing we can attain. But he said, this Zazen, this sitting is itself enlightenment. So there's no such separation or discrimination or dichotomy between delusion within samsara and enlightenment in nirvana. But we are already within enlightenment. Within enlightenment, we practice. That is, this is already the absolute world. Within this absolute world, we practice, we make effort. And in the case of Shinran, we are already in the Pure Land. And we have a faith in this power of Amitabha and chant Nembutsu as a gratitude, expression of our gratitude that for we are already here. So basically what Shinran said and Dōgen said are the kind of same thing. But those kind of Japanese Buddhist teaching is a kind of different from the definition of meditation practice in India. And because I'm not a scholar, I don't really explain how Indian idea is kind of changed or transformed and become like Shinran and Dōgen's teaching. If you are interested in this, kind of a change or development, you have to study the entire history of Buddhism.
That would be a good idea, maybe.
Yeah, please.
So you will find for yourself about what it doesn't mean.
Yeah.
Sorry, Buddhism.
Yeah. Well, is this the answer to your question?
Wonderful.
Okay.
Yes,
So you don't have to sing, you can just
But and this is what Uchiyama said when he said there was no difference, that they were the same thing. The Nembutsu and Dōgen.
Zazen?
It's the same thing.
Yeah, Uchiyama said Nembutsu is a Zazen practice with our mouth and heart, of course. And Zazen is a Nembutsu practice with our body.
Yes.
So basically the same thing. Okay. Anything else? Oh, please.
All of this comes back. Well, let me start by saying that in the back of my mind, I think I heard a commentary that the school of Soto Zen was radical dualism. After
Radical dualism.
dualism. non-dualism, radical non-dualism. Okay, then that makes sense, and then I don't need to ask anything else.
That's good. I'm happy. Anything else? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.